Hey guys, I'm Luke,
I am Phil.
and we're Arterra. We're actually together in one place right now in sunny Southern California. We're actually wrapping up some filming for our next product that's very anticipated and excited about here. And while we were together, we were like, hey, let's talk a little bit more about some fabrics, talk about what we're doing next, and just get kind of nerdy because we want to get more content around this kind of like everyday life of technical bag designers and talk to other people.
And the one thing we're trying to get some feedback around what people really appreciate and like whether their favorite fabrics and like what different like sailcloths and all the laminated stuff. I won't swear, but there's a little bit of confusion, and it gets a little complicated when you get into the weeds. So we kind of thought it would just be fun to like geek out a little bit with you guys about all the like details of this stuff and like try and clear up any confusion around like different types of laminated sailcloth fabrics that are used for backpacks.
Yeah. Before we do that, maybe do you want to talk about who you are, Phil, for those who don't know?
So I'm Phil. Before working with Luke here at Arterra, I founded and operated remote equipment for a long time. It was an awesome experience, but I was just ready to move on. And I'm now super excited to work with a longtime friend of mine, Luke, who's like also a passionate creative designer. And you want to do your spiel?
Yeah, my spiel. Kind of like Phil, background in product design engineering. Started in consumer electronics, and let's say the 2012 to 2016 era. Traveled a lot to Asia, and became a bag nerd, hardcore bag nerd. Prior to all of this, Phil and I first met because I had a startup in the wearable space, and Phil was working at a watch brand, and we did a collaboration together to incorporate some smart technology into a really beautiful consumer watch. And we both left our respective roles, and we synced up again because he was creating remote equipment, and that world was new to me at the time. Back in 2016, 2017. And in parallel, I was also getting into the bag industry, more specifically creating an Amazon sort of side hustle. And so I had a small packing cube business called Bento I ran for a number of years as literally just a product, just trying to understand how Amazon works, trying to see if I could fulfill a need, build something quickly. I'm used to 2 to 3 year production times for consumer electronics, and I wanted to see if I could move faster and do something else that I really enjoy as a personal hobby almost. And then in 2022, had a really good year with the side hustle, and said, what if I made this my passion into an actual career, or made it into a business, and did everything I really wanted to do, which was create a full-blown brand and something I really believe in that's missing in the marketplace, and create products that are really meaningful, have a lot of functionality, are very versatile, comfortable, and intuitive. And so that's what Arterra is, and I started really developing that since 2023. And then Phil joined here, end of last year. And so, we've got like all kinds of products in different stages of life. But the first product that you may know is the Falcon2L, which is an expanding hip pack that we just launched this year. It's it expands and it carries more than what it looks like it carries because of this unique falcon wing or beaver tail. And we'll talk a little bit about this later on. But again, for today, we're kind of going to jump right into some of the laminated technologies out there, and we'll come back to see how it applies, obviously, into product. So,
there's sneak peek.
So on that note, maybe we can talk a little bit about what are laminated fabrics, Phil. Like, what is, people keep saying, I want laminated this or that, and there's all kinds of acronyms of what is actually a laminated fabric.
Yeah, so lamination is just like, sticking two things together. Hopefully they do different jobs and they kind of complement each other. So like even on like your most kind of accessible backpack that you might get at like a big box store or something, you might even have like a nylon backpack with like a polyurethane coating on it, and they help each other out. One's strong, one does water resistance. But like when you get into sailcloth, you're really taking the whole lamination story to the next level. Like you're not just kind of doing like a thin coating for water resistance, you're like gluing different multiple layers of fabric together and they all then sort of make a super fabric, basically. So instead of just talking, we want to show you guys some of our favorites here. So not to get too far into it right away, but we got some like, this is some challenge sailcloth. It's really nice stuff. You can see here, we have a face fabric. You can see there's like these diagonal, what's called a scrim layer, and these are sort of reinforcement fibers. And this one has on the backside, it's a PET film that gives it some incredible water resistance. And then these, very similarly, but a little bit different, we see Challenge has an EPLX collection, or I'm sorry, EPX collection. And this is a very similar lamination, but instead of just having a waterproof film on the backside, there is a layer of sort of backer fabric that adds more material stability to it. And we call sort of in the industry like stitch holding. So when you actually sew it together, the thread's going through the fabric and it can kind of go through the back of the fabric and back to the front. And it really has a lot of kind of bulky fibers to hold on to there. So the 3 layers together, from outside barrier to kind of a reinforcement mid layer to a nice robust back layer, mean that you can take lots of thin layers of thin low denier fabrics, which we'll get into, and they kind of act like a super high denier fabric. So yeah, it's an amazing thing. And all the sort of adhesive layers in between mean that you get some like incredible waterproofness. So these are all rated over 200 PSI of water. So you can't, it's difficult to like pump water through this fabric if you even wanted to. Yeah. So that's like, I mean, yeah, like the biggest things. Hopefully that kind of addresses it.
Just basically like a sandwich of materials together.
Super sandwich.
Yeah. Is there a reason why in the bag industry it mostly came from the sailing industry? Like what's the connection?
Yeah, the like backstory there. The clearest understanding I have is that like it's you know, this all started with the sailing industry. You have giant, you know, racing sails that are under tons of stress in different directions. So with fabric, you have like two yarns typically. One's woven left to right, one's up to down, the warp and weft. And they take the load very efficiently in their respective directions. But when you get into a sail and all the fabric is stretched in all sorts of different directions, you really need to make sure you have fibers and reinforcement that can take that force. So that's one reason they sort of added a scrim layer to it that you see where there's these diagonals. And then combined, you know, they want to keep the sails as lightweight as possible as well. So that really means that you can, you know, just like a backpack, you need, you prioritize lightweight, water resistance, and dispersing a load over a wide area. And so, yeah, that's where you get something like this.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think one of the bigger like topics I always hear is, at least in the bag industry, there's kind of 2 main products I hear, and it's X-Pac. That's what most people know.
Yeah.
And then Ecopak. What are the difference between those 2 names? Are they the same, or is there's some difference there?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good point, and yeah, totally. They're very similar but different. There's not like a better and worse at all. So here, Luke just handed over a swatch book of X-Pac fabrics. These are from a company called Dimension Polyant. They're very similar. They have slightly different lamination technology. And by and large, Dimension Polyant is using a nylon face fabric, whereas Challenge, which makes the Ecopak fabrics, is using a polyester face fabric. The adhesive technology is similar, but different. I think they're both PET-based plastic films. Beyond that, they're sort of a proprietary technology. And then one of the biggest differences that you might see just on when you see a bag casually is the scrim, which makes those sort of diagonal X's. Dimension Polyant's X-Pac has them at their like signature 22 degrees, whereas Challenge really does a sort of 45-degree angle. And in everyday performance, they're very similar. I think the higher DP angle is really optimized for a racing sail for a yacht, but it performs honestly excellently for a backpack. And I think Challenge wanted to maybe differentiate themselves a little and maybe just kind of say how much they're really about, this line is really about backpacks. And so they're doing more of just a uniform 45 degrees, which is sort of like a good all-purpose reinforcement. So if you have all your strength going X and Y, and then you can kind of complement it with a 45-degree reinforcement. So it's really kind of like the best kind of
secondary aesthetic benefit too on this, though. You could turn it 45 degrees and get a grid.
Yeah. And there are a few makers out there that they want the grid at sort of a 90 degrees, and then they actually want the fabric fibers on the bias, which means they want the fabric fibers at 45 degrees. And they feel that's, helping their performance in specific, a bottom panel or a side panel of a backpack.
Yeah, or just plain appearance.
And appearance, like we're not above making some cool shit. So.
Granted, we love the back side of these fabrics, especially the 3-layer that have some sort of like ripstop or taffeta back.
Yeah,
you then change
trying to see if you guys can see that. You can kind of get video, but like there's basically it's a really nice, Challenge uses a really nice 70D rip. It's not quite coming on screen here, but it's really robust, and it makes, like, if you didn't line a backpack, I would still be just really happy. I mean, maybe even more happy to like kind of see that fabric technology. So definitely something to kind of look out for when you pick up your next laminated backpack.
We're looking at Challenge. What do we what's the difference between EPX versus 400 versus 200, for example? And then on X-Pac, they've got the VX series, this like 21, 42, and they got like X42. Like, what do these numbers mean on all these things and letters?
Yeah, because like we see like the product descriptions when we're shopping, and it's like, all right, it sounds cool, sounds technical. You can find information online, but it's still not always crystal clear. Yeah. So we'll try and break it down for you. The naming conventions actually they make some sense. So so to get in, we'll just start with Challenge. Challenges, they have a whole bunch of different lines, but the most common and popular ones are their EPX and EPLX lines. So this is the EPLX. The LX has the face fabric, the diagonal scrim, and a film backing. The EPX, by comparison, is the first 2 layers are the same. The first, the front and middle, but then let me find a lighter color so we can
apples here.
Yeah. See it. Instead of just having a backer film, you have the 70D ripstop on the back. Let me making a mess here. All right. One is not better than the other. So the 70D is really nice when a bag especially doesn't have a separate liner. And as I mentioned earlier, this has like kind of like better stitch holding, anecdotally. When lightweight is a priority, and you're sort of like maybe you're not like sort of doing a lot of daisy chain or things that have like specific point load, you can actually be more than fine with this, and sort of this actually might be a more efficient fabric in certain situations where you're just looking for like a strength to weight ratio, whereas this might be a better sort of overall useful fabric for different applications, or like if you want something that's just a little bit thicker, or as I mentioned, has like almost like a built-in liner to it. So,
and these are all just like parts of the full story, right? Because it's like you could have a much thicker, robust bag that just has this with a liner, right? Mm-hmm. Could be just this by itself, and then you would be going real lightweight and then potentially sacrificing some interior strength if you had something sharp in the bag, right?
Yeah.
And this could be the middle step, right? Where it's just this. Mm-hmm. And then you have one even bigger than that, which is this plus a liner, which is the tank or whatever. So it's kind of like based on whatever your application is, right?
Yeah. And then just to go over it again, the EPX has the backing. The LX is the sort of laminate film, is how I try and remember it.
The way I remember is you gain a letter, you lose a layer.
Yeah. If that helps. So again, they're very similar, both excellent fabric collections, but a little bit different.
So cool. Let's maybe shoot over to X-Pac. What's the difference between those?
Yeah, so
materials.
similar thing. So let me switch here and we'll get into. So X-Pac has the. Ooh, I gotta wake up. The VX collection. I feel like this is probably what This is like the first thing I remember like finding out about. Like VX21. Like holy moly, what is this stuff? And like this is sort of their by far Dimension Poly's bestseller. So this is similar to what Challenge has. It's a 200D face fabric, and there's VX42, which is we'll get to that, a little thicker face. But again, you have the VX21. This is fabric face, scrim, and then a backer fabric. And then we have some that are just like a X21 or X40. Let's see. These all seem to have backer layers. Let me see if any of these.
This has an RX30, which is a.
Oh yeah, so this is a great example. So this is an RX line. So this is actually a recycled fabric.
Front of it.
Yeah,
nice orange,
yeah.
Beautiful orange, yeah.
Beautiful, burnt, kind
Sienna.
of poppy, sienna orange. Yeah. Typically the X line will just have a film backing similar to EPLX from Challenge Sailcloth. This is an RX line, so I think this means basically no V for that backer fabric, and then the R I think indicates that it's a recycled face fabric. So also beautiful stuff. So again, so if you have VX, you're getting that backer fabric. And then if you have something like this is an X33, for example, and this has just a film, no V.
A lot of people know this material is X50.
Yeah, this is pretty dope.
Phil knows it real well.
Yeah. So this I've used this on bags before. Beautiful stuff. This is now, I think they switched over to an aramid scrim, so it's almost like a Kevlar. So it looks honestly killer. Honestly, the polyester scrim, I don't think that was bad at all to begin with, but DP is always trying to sort of up the game a little bit. So they have this like beautiful aramid fiber in there. So it's like this pale yellow, looks really nice. But again, of course, because there's no V, you do not have that backer fabric.
Yeah. Quick question for you too on this. Yeah. So we were comparing a little bit of these, this X33, X50. Let's get a VX21 in here somewhere.
Yeah, let's.
Because we originally talked about, hey, like the big difference between Challenge Ecopak and X-Pac's.
So here's our VX21.
The X-Pac series is typically X-Pac's using face fabric made of nylon, and Challenge is using polyester. And I like to see these materials because a lot of consumers who are not like technical designers, and like that's my background. I did study, technical outerwear or outdoor design professionally until I got into the industry later on. I originally looked at like the hand feel, the sheen of the fabric, and I used to assume that like nylon was a lot softer and like had more sheen to it, more slip, to, like hand slip to it.
Yeah.
And polyester was like all the reverse. It's like a little more matte. Has more of a catch to it. Is a little rougher. But then you see something like this, which is like a Cordura almost, right? Made of nylon.
Yeah.
Feels pretty rough though, and like kind of catchy, and it's got way more of a more matte or satin finish than a higher gloss sheen.
Yeah. So
how do we think about that? How do we compare that? Is Challenge, even though it's polyester, all going to be rough?
Yeah. So generally, polys are a little scratchier overall, but there are so many exceptions. And then a classic, nylon, like the current Falcon2L, It's like a really beautiful 840 nylon. It's like we're calling it like a micro ballistic. And yeah, this is a good example because like you can see it's like has a really nice sheen to it. It's not like hairy or canvasy at all.
Yeah, it doesn't catch like hair and
no
fibers.
hair. Whereas like this is also a nylon. You know, this X50 here.
Yeah.
But it's more of like what we'd associate with like cordura. So it's more like canvasy or, you know, a little scratchier.
You can kind of see like it's already collecting some hair.
Yeah, it's got some pet hair, you know.
Yeah.
And what's going on here is like this stuff is actually, the yarns when it's spun, it's actually intentionally, what they do is they use compressed air to blow on the fibers as it's being spun. And that allows the yarn to actually like kind of like puff up a little bit and get this sort of more, I don't know what you call it, like hairier yarn. So like on a super, if we could zoom way in, you'd see like, you know, some cool stuff. It's not that one's better than the other. I think it's really more about appearance and lower sheen. A lot of polys I do associate with like kind of being a little more scratchy, but like I think a lot of that is changing, especially like, you know, these challenges using some like really beautiful high quality polyesters here. And they certainly do feel different than a nylon. Like if I can like get some nylon right there, like, so this is X-Pac, this is Challenge. But like in the light and even to my hand, they're not that different in feeling, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it really comes down to like the quality of the yarns. And I feel like, you know, 10 plus years ago, my association was that like polyester was cheap, nylon was better. And I think now that is changing a lot where there's a lot more R&D going into polys, and polyesters are often more easily recycled, although nylons can also be recycled. And so it's certainly changing. And polyesters have like a lot of benefits. Like they don't bleach out in the sun as much. They don't rot as easily. Whereas a nylon, you know, pound for pound or ounce for ounce might actually have a little bit more tensile strength. So there's like subtle trade-offs between them, but like I think these are both excellent. But it is something to look out for when you're shopping for a bag. You might notice that like certain polys, it's subtle, you know, very little, like, but like might feel a little more scratchy or crunchy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think one thing that's key to note for these kind of fabrics, right? Like, and I've had some more experience in the apparel industry. Like polyester and nylon make a bigger difference, right? One's way more hydrophobic, right? That'd be polyester.
Mm-hmm.
And then nylon's a little bit more oleophobic, where you know, polyester's oleophilic, so it will retain like smells, right, from cooking or body odor or whatever, right?
Yeah,
a little bit more.
Yeah.
But in a bag, it's kind of a little bit more negligent, right? Because it's like you know, you've got layers of sandwich to make waterproofing, and like the water's not going to go through either which way.
Yeah,
It kind of works interchangeably.
Because at the end of the day, both these fabrics, nylon or polyester, they're woven. So like you have this grid, right? And there's little holes in between the fibers. And so that's why you put polyurethane or a thermoplastic coating or a PET film so that you fill in all those holes. So, and like, yeah, there's in a backpack world, like, you know, one might collect smells more, but you might be more worried about, you know, UV damage if you really like live outside with your gear or something like that. So like I've seen, you know, nylon, an old nylon black bag, it'll look pretty red and purple, like it just bleaches. Whereas poly will really, the pigments really hold. So,
Yeah.
you know, little differences. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too of nylons where it's like a lot of blacks with like a polarized lens.
Yeah.
They turn like a red hue.
Yeah. Blacks in general are just like a nightmare to dye,
Yeah.
I guess. Like, black is always like crazy dark red, it seems. Yeah.
Just to close out the whole nomenclature business between these two brands. So we talked about sort of like EPLX, EPX. We talked about VX. We talked about X series. And then, you know, you've kind of alluded to the number being more of like the face fabric itself, the denier of it.
Yes.
I think most people just want to know also, what is denier? I think there's a lot of people confused what it actually means. And How does it impact anything?
Yeah, so without Wikipediaing it right now, denier to me, or denier, I'll say universally, it is the weight of the yarn. So, you know, this is made of a very fine yarn, but the
not to get confused with GSM, which people always do.
Yeah,
which is
grams per meter.
Yeah, so that would be
meter.
like, you know, you could take a piece of the same size material and weigh them to be different. This is not that, right? This is the yarn itself.
Yeah. So you could have, so let's start there. The yarn itself, if it's really, and I think we all know that from buying bags online, and you know, like you see like 1000D, 500D, you might even see 1680 on your like luggage or something. So, and that is the weight of the fiber itself. And the bigger that rope is, the more it's gonna weigh. And so denier, I think it's technically the grams per fixed length, I believe. But you know, the higher the number, the heavier it is, and chances are the larger it's gonna look and feel. And then Luke, what you're getting at is like, you know, you could have like the weight of the fabric itself. So the weight of like, you know, given yard of fabric, if I take a giant roll and unroll it, how much that's gonna weigh. And that doesn't necessarily always correlate exactly to the denier, because I could have yarns that are like spaced way apart, where it's like almost like a screen.
Yeah.
And maybe they're high denier, but like, you know, super open weave. And I could have tiny, really fine yarns that are like packed really tightly together that maybe make a really heavy piece of fabric. So, you know, what's called yarns per inch or threads per inch, almost like high thread sheets,
thread count sheets,
high yarn, you know, the thread count. That's like how much, you know, when they weave these things, how much those yarns are packed together on the loom. And tighter isn't always better, but like generally when we're designing backpacks, I associate like a tighter weave with generally a higher quality fabric. But there are no universals. There may be, you know, exceptions to everything.
Yeah. Do you have a denier that you generally gravitate towards when you design a backpack versus a hip pack or a pouch?
So stepping away from like laminated for a second, I feel like, I mean, you know, like, I mean, this just the Falcon's right here. So like, this is an 840D. We really like the look and feel. It's like, honestly, this stuff is bomb proof, but like for the sake of argument, if you found like a really nice 400 or 500D, like the hand feel would be different. I don't know if it would be right for the product, but like, I think mechanically it would be fine, you know? And you might even have like an ultralight brand out there that uses a nice 200D for a sling. And, you know, maybe if you snag it on a branch, it may be a little bit more likely to tear. Or if you are in an environment where like you kind of really beat up your gear, it might kind of abrade more easily and fail. But like day in and day out, if you're careful with it, a 200, 210D high quality might be fine.
Yeah.
So
then the flip side, you see like what's full ballistic, 1680 or something, and you'll see like a phone holder that's made of that, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, and there's like really like, you know, right? Like there's low quality and high quality ones, right? True. And like sometimes you can feel it, sometimes you can see it, where like the quality of the yarn itself and how it's woven together makes a big difference. So you might have like some bomb-proof 1680, and you might have like the free case that came with your binoculars that's 1680, but it feels kind of like slimy tissue paper, you know?
My favorite, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like it's like not all 1680 or 1000Ds are equal. So, but yeah, and this definitely also applies to laminated fabrics. But like all of a sudden, you know, instead of saying 400 or 600 or 800 for a certain application, I might be like, I need a VX, like a 200D or 400D or even a 70D, like a lightweight fabric for a certain application, just because the laminate kind of then mimics a heavier denier often.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would be a heavier GSM.
Yeah. So
because you have a sandwich of materials.
Yeah, and that is like there are trade-offs, right? You are like layering all the stuff with like adhesive, and while it's a low denier face fabric, that does add up. So generally they're more efficient. You get more performance for less weight, depending on how you measure performance. But yeah, it's not like, I don't want to oversimplify it. It's all kind of what you need for a given job. Yeah.
Well, I have one more laminated question for you. And I think there's a lot of confusion. I even had this one point on what is like these sailcloth materials that we're looking at versus something like Gore-Tex, like a semi-permeable barrier layer type material.
Yeah.
Are these the same? Are they different? And then there's a lot of controversy right now about PFAS and PFOS inside of these, or leaching these chemicals. It's bad for the environment, bad for like humans. Do we have that in these products?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So the getting to like Gore-Tex, that, like you're saying, that is a semi-permeable layer, right? Like it allows water vapor to pass through, air can pass through, but actual water going on outside will not go, right? So you can have a breathable jacket where water is not soaking you. I don't know all the details, but it does sound like at least legacy Gore-Tex did have PFAS in it, and it sounds like Gore-Tex is reacting to that, and it would definitely be something to be aware of if you have an older garment with Gore-Tex, that probably, it very well could have PFAS. All our products that we're using right now do not have PFAS. They do have chemical coatings, like a durable water repellent finish on the top, which is often just called DWR. But the latest versions are what's called a C0 DWR. Let me go back. And all it does is almost like honestly, they're not as good as the old DWRs that were all chemically. But like it causes...
Isn't that like everything? It's like you find out it's not good for you and it's not as good anymore.
Asbestos was such a good insulator, right? You know, like, but like C0 coating it's basically like wax. It's like, I think, a cousin of like carnauba wax, and so it's lower performance than the old like C6 or C8 DWR, but it's PFA free. It'll still cause the water to wet out. And then with a laminated fabric, even if the water goes from being a bead of water to then like saturating that face fabric, it's not going to soak all the way through to the other side because you have this film. So you have like multiple sort of barriers going on. And yeah, I think these are, like I'm not personally concerned about any PFAS or any sort of like damaging chemistry in the fabrics we're using.
And they're not breathable, so that's the main...
Yeah. That's like, Gore-Tex needs to be breathable so you don't get sweaty in the rain. Yep. This stuff is not breathable at all. So while it makes an awesome, backpack, this would not be a great choice for a jacket or something. Yeah. So water stays on a given side. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'd love to show what we're working on.
Oh yeah. All right. So guys, bonus.
Yeah.
So our whole conversation got started because we were asking folks like what they thought of different laminated fabrics and what they'd like to see on some of our next generation items. And so we just wanted to kind of show you guys some of the prototypes that have been in progress.
Yeah. We've had definitely, I don't know if we should switch cameras.
So yeah, let me go here.
We've had a lot more sampling than this, but we've kind of narrowed it down, just like this video, to the two main competitors or players here.
Explain this.
So on this side here, which I'm touching, this is a challenge material. This is going to be your EPX 400. We also have another one that is made of 200, but Phil's actually got that back at home. He's doing some filming with it, or some photography. And then we have VX21 from Dimension Polyant. So yeah, we're in the same boat as designers. What do we do? What do we pick? Which way to go with this? We asked some of you guys what you thought. And for me, at least, like I'm very concerned about the aesthetic direction, the hand feel, usability.
Pet hair ability,
right? Like I have a dog, obviously. That's the inception of this product, really. Mm-hmm. And what's not going to cling to that. And I got to say, they're both very, very similar in a lot of those aspects. Like they feel very, very similar as far as the slip on it, like your hand grabbing it. I will say the argyle pattern of the VX21, the prominence of the scrim coming through is much more prominent than...
That's like, especially on, like, you know, the lighting here, everyone is maybe a little deceiving. Like,
Yeah.
I can hardly see it on the challenge right now, and it's so clear. And it, honestly, the DP one, it looks badass right now, right? Like, that looks pretty cool. But this one, especially, it's definitely there, and I think a little bit is the light, but it's just not as prominent. And some people really like actually appreciate that. It's a very personal decision, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, but like clearly, you know, we're using an EPX. This is a 400. We're also exploring EPX 200. And you can see, you know, this one, the DP's Coyote is a little bit more, what would you call it, like?
More yellow in it. This has more brown to it.
Yeah, this we feel is like more of a, closer to like a true Coyote.
More vibrant to the VX line there. But I will say this, like I've got other older Coyote samples from Dimension that look closer to this color and vice versa. Like there are some variants from lot to lot for both these manufacturers, and they're both really beautiful colors. They just kind of, you know, they have subtle differences. And I think this has a little more green and browns to it. Yeah. Almost gives me more of like your traditional military
FTE
or feel
Coyote,
to it. Yeah,
almost.
so it feels a little more versatile as far as the color goes. Again, I'm kind of like, I originally did not like the argyle when I would see that in bags. And go, what is, like when I didn't know what X-Pac was, I was like, what is that? And why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And then over time it became like a symbol of like premium over time to me personally. Mm-hmm. And then I've kind of like over time have been like, oh, I kind of like to see something a little different. And so I'm really interested when you have like almost this shadow scrim, like you call it. I wish we had the 200, and you guys will see that, but in the future time. But it's a nice blend between this and that as far as how prominent the scrim is, and I actually really like the way it looks. I would say this is obviously the most rigid of the three samples we have because it is a much heavier denier, and we're, you know, this is a little preview of how we're going to build these bags, but we're unlining a lot of it, and that's why we went the EPX series. Mm-hmm. And in certain cases, still a little TBD, we're using that same fabric, the face fabric on the inside, to keep a uniform look. And so you go just one step up, and all of a sudden the bag is way stiffer. But this is, again, very similar to an EPX 200 as a VX21, and it's quite a bit more rigid than the EPX 200. So this is like the middle. This is the most rigid, and then the one that's not on camera is the softest of the three. Other thing I would say is, regardless if it's a 200 face denier or 400 face fabric denier, there's the X-Pac does have a little bit more like retention. So like when you fold the fabric,
like rigid,
it holds the shape a little longer. They all bounce back, and I think because of that, there's some, you know, property here that you releases more sound when that happens too. So this is a little bit,
yeah, it's got a crunch,
crunchier, and this is a little quieter, right? It's
this is definitely like, just feels a little bit more like natural, like what we all know is like just a backpack fabric that we already know, non-laminated.
Yeah.
And this is the X-Pac from Dimension Poly is a little more crunchy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, the challenge fabric is still, I mean, I really love this stuff. It's really grown on me over the years, and the subtle grade that comes through, along with just they have just some amazing laminating technology. I've really come to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
there's, I would say, one other hand feel difference is there's a slight more wetness on the surface of the Ecopak, and I think it makes sense because it is polyester, which is fully hydrophobic. So you know, whatever humidity is in the air is going to slightly collect on it, which, again, subjective, totally subjective, but to me it gives a little bit of a premium feel and has a little wetness to it, the right level of it. Not saying like, oh my god, my hand's wet. It's just like it gives you like a cool touch.
okay, yeah.
But I would like to show too the inside, just to compare the difference, right? So because we are really celebrating the back side of these fabrics, and you can kind of see here. I'll try and line up with the camera.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm gonna fight you for screen
time here.
Yeah. So yeah, just like we were talking about earlier. So and now you can more clearly see that ripstop pattern. So that's the 70D backing here. And then, this one right here, of course, this is the Dimension Poly. It has a 50D taffeta backing. Still excellent, but a little bit lower denier. They both do a great job of sort of stabilizing the sandwich, but I'm personally, I kind of appreciate this.
Yeah, it looks
that
ripstop looks really elevated. One last difference too on that is, take it or leave it. I'm not a huge fan of blue color, but the scrim there has a more blue hue to it, and this has more of a gray.
Yeah,
So that's the only last real difference aesthetically on this.
yeah.
Well, while we have the bags here, you can kind of see this is a sneak peek of the next thing we're going to launch. This is going to be our Pro line, which is going to be using higher end materials for more waterproof resistance, abrasion resistance, technical fabrics, advanced materials. You'll see here, right, we have a magnetic buckle on each side where we had just Woojin clips before, or snap buckles on the regular Falcon 2L. And there's going to be a couple more features that we're going to keep, off the record today.
Yeah, more to come, guys.
Soon,
guys and gals.
You'll see.
So, and generally, we definitely want to do more of these videos, and kind of are looking to the community for like what other things maybe are not clear that we can help get into and clear up. If we talked to other soft goods designers or companies, who would you like us to talk to? No promises, but we can reach out. And then, we're going to do our best to sort of try and educate the community and kind of help have those conversations. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Luke. All right. And have a good carrying in the future.
A good carry.
Good carry. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.